name is Auerbach. I live and work in Santa Cruz, California at California Electric Tattoo Parlor. I started tattooing at the end of 2008 and it's been about 13 years now. I approached the tattoo world like most people by getting tattooed first. I started getting tattooed a lot when I was about 19 or 20. I was into punk and hardcore, so tattoos were always a part of that. Most of what I saw was traditional stuff, or the version that had a heavy presence in our area back then at least. Who inspired me the most were the people I was around in the beginning and some of the hitter shops that were in San Jose and San Francisco. New School was a big deal, Blackheart, neo-traditional in general back then really worked for me. Thad Ritchie, who I work with now and consider one of my best friends, helped me get better at drawing and helped me ultimately find my way into tattooing. Nate Gonzalez always was a big help, and he helped me get my first counter job at Gold Coast in Monterey. Besides tattooing as a career, I initially wanted to get into music recording, so I was into punk, playing bands and stuff. I figured out pretty fast that I wasn't very good at it. I didn't really care, and I didn't find it nearly as interesting. Tattooing was totally the way to go. As far as my style, I like traditional tattoos and the toughness of them. Using minimal colors maintained that toughness and simplicity, but I still liked drawing things a little crazier or a little less flat than classic Americana. That approach has always been a pretty integral part of how I draw, but now I, take some influences from Tibetan, Japanese, old animal lithographs, esoteric imagery, stuff like that. As far as developing the style, I basically just draw a lot. I used to spend 6 hours drawing every tattoo for every appointment, doing color studies for years. I hope that effort helped make me a better tattooer over time. Probably can't hurt. Starting to use new colors sometimes, pink and blue, a little bit outside of what people actually expect. As far as evolving my style, I think it's constantly happening. I still draw every tattoo instead of referencing an old similar thing. I try to keep it fresh. Each time I do some different version of a collie or make a spider girl head thing with different moves. I try to keep it interesting for me. Clients let me do a lot of stuff that I really like doing, so, why not? And it also helps to keep me from getting stale or burning out. Painting or drawing is still really important to me. I don't really paint as much these days. I had a son earlier this year, so it's keeping me busy. A lot of my time goes, into raising him, but occasionally I still get to paint. If it's for a book project or sometimes a commission for a client or some project that has a hard deadline that I have to meet. When the pandemic started last year, our state shut down tattooing for 3 months, so that gave me an opportunity to paint more than normal, which I enjoyed. And, I got to contribute a painting or two to some benefit stuff and do stuff for clients. But drawing is still number one for me. I might hate doing it sometimes, but it's still the most important part of tattooing. And I still love that feeling I get when I see someone do something super interesting and it gets me inspired again. So, I'm always trying to chase that dragon. I get inspired by different things at different times, depending what I'm after right then. Sometimes I try to use Japanese fabric patterns on reaper hoods or use Hindu deity decorations on traditional girl heads, shit like that. Sometimes I'll, take old flash and just use that as a starting point for the drawing. Old illustrations of world religion stuff and obscure imagery. It's always powerful, and bringing that into a pretty classic tattoo idea can work pretty well. I still stay fairly rooted in standard tattoo vocabulary because that makes the most sense to me in general. As far as specific artists, it would just be a lot of tattooers directly around me, and anyone whose tattoos really inspire me. That's probably vague, but there's too many names to list. And it's not always about specific quality standards, but sometimes a heavy volume of work and just general consistency is pretty inspirational on its own. It's, people who I know who are working nonstop and never stop producing. The relationship with my clients definitely makes my job easier and more fulfilling. I have great clients who, always come to me with great ideas and a pretty open mind. Get to do tattoos I'm really into, get to push whatever new stuff I'm feeling. And because I've tattooed a lot of them for a long time, been able to get to know a lot of them over the years and, become pretty good friends with a lot of them. Most people become easier to work with over time because of establishing a good level of trust and mutual respect. We're both stoked getting to do the work together, and I feel fortunate for all that. Most of my clients just come in with a general idea and ask me to do what I think would work best. Can't say I always know what that is, but I try. I'm generally happy with what we come up with, for a few months at least. Since I started tattooing, it's definitely changed. I probably got in at the tail end of when it was normal to be a well-rounded tattooer. We were always supposed to be good at most styles of tattooing that came in and able to competently pull off most requests, or at least that was the goal. People definitely had established styles, and we had all our influences, whose shit you love looking at, but Instagram wasn't really a serious thing when I started, so I watched it become kind of the epicenter of tattooing. Styles stopped being like regional or geographic pretty quick. Tattooing sort of veered towards appealing to phone screen size boxes, like crazy sleeves with perfect composition didn't really translate as well on a tiny 3-inch screen, as well as like a seashell with dots did. So it seemed like something got lost in the translation as far as like raw power in tattoos, since you're seeing it on a really tiny screen. The flip side of that is, we can all reach more people now, and people are more willing to travel to get tattooed since it seems more accessible, so that's cool. I can't change any of that stuff. I just wish we didn't have to do videos now. That's a new thing. There's obviously more tattooers and popular styles change, but that doesn't bother me really. I'm not trying to worry about too many different things. Tattooing's still the best job in the world. As far as machines go, I've used coil machines my whole career, and I still do. I like the idea that the machines are handmade by other tattooers, and for everybody that uses it to be well-rounded, we should have a general knowledge of their maintenance and repair, and all that information is pretty accessible if you want to figure out day-to-day upkeep. Being a great builder is like another thing entirely. I never had enough of a drive to pursue that because I'd rather just make tattoos personally. I'm glad great tattooers do it though. It makes my job a lot easier. Tried rotaries a few times, wasn't really my thing. Sticking with coils for now. As far as liners, I love Supremes. Aesthetically, practically, I prefer a fast, hard-hitting one. I don't really do giant lines on any tattoos, so that always works fine for me. For shaders, standard all-around formula. Slow, some medium to hard hit, cranked up. What tattooing means to me, I guess, is having a craft that I want to stay sharp with. I'm lucky enough to have a job that I enjoy and, one that also pays the bills without having to answer to some executives or investors. Tattooing's always been there before I started working, so I just want to do my part, not make any big waves and hope it stays being a viable craft for people who really give a shit about it in the future. It's demanding, but that's the reason that I feel inspired by other people who I can tell are working their asses off. You're always going to get out of it what you put in, and plenty of people are pushing it forward every day. Once travel eases up, mellows out a little bit, my son gets a little bigger, I'll start hitting the road again. Plan is to try to go back to Europe a couple times a year again, do the normal conventions I do in the States, go back east. Probably won't be able to travel as much as I did before, but it's still a really important part of the job for me. I definitely miss meeting new people and seeing a lot of my friends that I only tend to see out on the road.